All right, I'm here with my buddy Bruno, and this is Bruno's roadmap to success. And he is a big fluffy boy, and he's really basically a big puppy. And so in this session, really a lot of what we went over was creating what I like to call a healthy leader-follower dynamic. I think that the Guardians here had done a lot of things with the best of intentions, but were accidentally conditioning their dog to do the exact opposite of what they want. Prime example is all attention for dogs is rewarding and validating. So when he mouths people or bites them or jumps up on them or runs away, he was getting attention for that. So that was causing him to want to do that more often. The humans were frustrated because he's not doing what they want. But in their mind, they're saying, I don't like you doing this. For example, he ripped up the carpet and they took over and showed it to him. And he was kind of looking away from it. Dogs can't make that association after 2 seconds. They don't know what it is. And they just know, you're giving me all this attention and pointing at this carpet. And so to counter that, I do something I call celebrating. Thanks. His marker word is thanks, by the way. And so he just laid down. I didn't ask him to lay down, but when he did, I said thanks to let him know that's something that I liked. And then I provided a little bit of a pet and some affection for him. So this is really for him, I think, by the Guardians playing a little hard to get and creating a situation where there's only a couple options and one of them is what they want and he gets rewarded if he chooses that, but if he chooses anything else, it's not very rewarding. After a while, he kind of stumbles onto the path that they want him to be on. We did this for the teaching him to come and put the collar on. Now, as Guardians, we're using a prong collar, and so that might have been a contributing factor. Hey, Bruno, come here, buddy. Let's not eat the rubber band. Bruno. Yeah, come here. Bruno. He's trying to eat a rubber band. Yeah, Bruno. There you go. But I got it. Okay, so by basically giving him attention and chasing him around and asking him to come to them 20 times or whatever, every time they leashed him up, they were giving him attention and accidentally training him to protest and not come to them. So the way I flipped that is we broke the activity down into small steps. So the first thing we did was we picked a new location to leash him up. We just walked in that location. We let him know, hey, let's not knock that over, buddy. We let him know that we had a treat, and we walked over to the new location. He came over to us, we said thanks, and gave him a treat, and walked away. Thanks. And after doing that 5 or 6 times, then we walked over into that room and we sat down. And then he came up to us and we said thanks, gave him a treat. Eventually, then we asked him to sit down and said thanks, gave him a treat. Then we picked up the leash and sat down. He came up to us and we said thanks, gave him a treat. We didn't attach the leash. We just are holding it. We're gradually adding these extra elements, but helping him practice the behavior we want him to have first. And that's the fundamental when it comes to dogs. As a dog behavior expert, one of the things I found is most people don't teach their dogs what they want them to do. They just get frustrated when the dog does what it does, and the dog doesn't know that you want them to do that or not to do that. Let's not get up there, buddy. And so if you want your dog to behave a certain way, you have to teach them and reward them and motivate them for doing the thing that you want. And the way to do that is to breaking it down into small, bite-sized steps and remove the excitement. So right now, for the leash, putting him on the leash, when we pick up the leash, he gets all excited. That's a classically conditioned response. Let's not go that because you're going to block the camera view, buddy. And so we just walked into the room. And then there was a treat, and we gave him the treat. So we took away the thing that was going to cause him more excitement. Now, something we didn't go over in the session, but that he likes to do is he likes to jump up on people at the door. Well, one of the things that I like to do is teach the dog a guess which hand game. And I'll show you how to do that right now. So basically, I have a treat in one hand. I tell the dog to sit. I put the treats behind my band. I'm going to switch to my other hand. I'm going to present it on either side of his nose. If he picks the hand without it, I flip it over and show him there's nothing in my hand. Then I put my hands behind my back. I don't switch the treat, and I go again. Thanks. He picks the hand that has the treat. I say thanks and flip it over and show him. So whichever hand he goes to first. If he goes to the wrong hand, you just flip it over. You don't say anything. Put your hands behind your back. Don't switch hands, and then present it again on either side of his nose. And he picks the right hand. You can't do two. Whichever one he does, flip it over. But if he picks the right hand, you say thanks and flip your hand over, and then he gets that reward. So if we do this, and first we teach him to do this just when he's in the house, when he's not super boisterous, not excited, not distracted. So now, those are my glasses. You can't eat my glasses. Sorry, buddy. And so we're teaching him how to do the skill without being at the door, without guests coming over, just teaching him to the base skill. Once he can do that, then I ask him to sit before I play this game. Yes, I know you're rowdy. He's a little tired, so he's a little mouthy right now as a puppy. So then I ask the dog to sit before I play this. Sit. This is not sit. Sit. And then I pull out a treat. Thanks. And then he gets the treat. And so I get him to practice this. So now he's used to playing this game while he's sitting. Well, now let's bring it to the door. So now what we're going to do is if we leave the house and come back an hour later, we have created all the excitement. He's going to bounce off the walls and jump up and down. So what we do is walk over the door, let him see us, walk out the door, grab a treat, put it on our hands, walk right back in, tell him to sit and do the game. There's no excitement because I just walked out the door a second ago. But now he's practicing sitting at the door, touching his nose to people's hands to guess which one has the treat. And if he guesses right, he gets a treat. Then we walk out the door, repeat it again. Repeat that maybe 10 times. So now for Bruno, when people come through the door, I'm going to sit here at the door and I'm going to wait them to put hands on either side of my nose. And if I pick the right one, I get a treat. Now we are teaching Bruno the behavior we want him to demonstrate when people come to the door. Just expecting your dog not to do something you don't like is not teaching them how to do something. So that's a great way to stop dogs from jumping, but you have to practice that. And practice is not an emergency, and emergency is not time to practice. So just like I said for the leashing up, guardians need to practice that a couple of times a day, maybe in a 1-minute practice session, 10, 15, 20 treats, without actually leashing them up. Or at the door without actually somebody coming in through the door. And after a while, he just kind of gets used to sitting at the door and playing the guess which hand game when guests come over. And after a couple months, he forgets about the jumping up. Because now his guardians have realized that every time that they give him attention, they're causing him to do that behavior more often. Thanks. So instead, they're going to celebrate. So when he comes over to them, just like he did there, they're going to say thanks and pet him. And after a while, he's going to know, hey, they really like it when I sit, when I come to them, when I give them eye contact, when I lay down. Now, when he jumps up like this, at this point, I probably would get up and walk away. I can't do that because I'm filming the video. That is a negative punishment. So if he starts mouthing you and you don't like it, you can get up and walk away. Now, not allowing him on the furniture will help with this, but he's already kind of gotten a habit of doing this. So I recommend the guardians get an elevated dog bed with and he likes a cool seat. So get a cooling mat that he had put on the elevated dog bed. So he jumps up here, we show him I have a treat, and we throw it, try to bank it off the nice marble wall, and then it lands on the cooling mat. And he jumps down and goes over, he steps on the cooling mat or the dog bed, we say thanks, his marker word, then he licks up the treat. He runs back over here before he even gets up. I show him I have another treat, throw it again. Don't throw it over his head, try to throw it in front of him. And you might have to, kind of gather up his hair and put it in a ponytail. But after a while, so I jump up over here, but it's raining treats over there. And I like the treats. So I'm going to go over there and grab those treats. Now you can also drill a hole through the back end of a bully stick like I showed you and attach it to maybe a dumbbell that's on thank you buddy, that's on the cooling bed. And so now I can chew the bully stick as much as I want, but it's when I choose to. Nobody's telling me to go to the dog bed. But now when I go to the couch, they throw treats over there. And after we do that enough, we can just say Sydney as we throw it. And then Sydney means go over to the dog bed. Now eventually what it would be is thanks. Is he goes to the dog bed, then I would say thanks, and then I would throw the treat after. At first we're throwing the treat to lure him to go there. Once he starts doing it on his own, then we say the cue to get him to go there, or if he does it on its own, then we mark and reward after he does that so that he knows that going to the dog bed is a great way to get a treat and get a reward. You are a goofball. Okay, so let me see. We started off the session by going over marker words. And the guardians here have worked with a couple trainers. Nobody's gone over marker words, which is always disappointing. Marker word is the fundamental. It's how dogs learn. A marker word is an indicator that comes the instant the dog does the thing that you want, unless the thing that you want has duration, like potty or stay. In those situations, we say the marker word at the conclusion of the act. Because the marker is a way of indicating or marking to the dog, you did what I wanted you to do. So the dog's butt hits the ground, you say thanks and give him a pet or a treat. He looks you in the eyes, thanks, and hold out a pet or give him a treat. So after a while, he starts to know that sitting, eye contact, laying down, going to my dog bed, drinking my water, eating my food, pooping outside are things that get me a reward. Most of us like I said, don't teach our dogs what we want them to do. And one of the questions I ask my clients is, what could your dog do to contribute to your group and make you happy? When I ask the guardians here, they answer the same way that a lot of my clients do, is they started telling me things they don't want their dog to do. Like this. They don't want him to do this. That's great. That's important. We don't want our dog to be mouthing people. Normally I wouldn't allow this, but I'm trying to shoot a video. There's a big difference between him knowing what I want him to do and me listing things I don't want him to do. So the more I pet him for sitting, coming, laying down, then the more he offers those behaviors. This chewing and biting behavior probably gets him a lot of attention. It probably has for a year now. And so he's in a habit of doing this. It's going to take him a little bit of time to get out of it. Now, he's overly tired at this point, and dogs that are overly tired, especially young dogs, often get mouthy and nippy, and I think that's a lot of what's going on here with him. Now, he unfortunately didn't go to puppy classes. If you get a puppy, you want them in a puppy school where they get to play with other puppies, and you need to develop bite inhibition by the time they turn 5 months of age. After 5 months, you can help with it, but it's not anywhere near as beneficial. It's dramatically under effect. Matter of fact, a dog learns more in terms of bite inhibition but in 1 hour of playing with puppies of a similar age, meaning with 1 month of their age, than if I worked with him for 24 hours a day for 7 days straight. So it's a huge ratio. Now, to teach bite inhibition, one of the lessons we could do, which I didn't go over here, I've got a treat in my hand, in my pouch. So I'm going to hold it here. He's trying to take it with his teeth. As soon as he licks, thanks, and then I release the treat. So now what I'm teaching him is when I use my teeth, nothing happens. But as soon as I lose my lips or my tongue, he says thanks, and then I get that reward. Maybe I should do that again. Now, another way you can do it is you can put a treat on a fork, hold it out to him. He's going to chomp just like that, but he's going to hit metal. He's not going to like that. So he's going to back off, and he's going to lick it off with his lips. So when he does that, you say, thanks, and then he licks it up. And when he's doing that consistently, you would say gentle as you present it, and then he would gently take the treat off. So now you're teaching him gentle means to use your lips and take things gently instead of biting the behavior's shoulder like he is right now. So we went over celebrating, which is rewarding him when he does desired behaviors on his own. The flip side of that is what I call manners, which is teaching him how to do things properly. So right now, if he's pawing at me or mouthing at me, I might say sit. I can't do it right now because he's already sitting. But if he's on the floor and he's grabbed me, I might say sit. If he sits, I say thanks, and then I give him a pet. If he doesn't, I just go back to doing what I was doing. He's the one that's missing out. Playing hard to get works great for dog training, as well as for dating. And after a while, he'll start coming and sitting in front of you to prepay for attention. Because when he does sit, you pay attention and you say your marker word. So for celebrating and manners, celebrating is when he does it on his own and we just say the marker word and we pet him. Manners is if he's doing this sort of thing, we tell him to do something we want him to do, like snag, grab a toy, or sit down. And when he does it, we say the marker word and reward him. So manners is giving him a second opportunity. I call it the do-over. So he tells you, hey, give me some pets, darn it. Sit. He sits, we say thanks, his marker word, and then we give him the pets. If he doesn't, we just do our own thing. Now, if he keeps on doing this, you can get up and walk away. That's a negative punishment. I don't like doing that too much because it sometimes causes dogs to bite, bark, chew things up, and things along those lines. I prefer not to do that. I think in his case, getting him exercise in shorter bursts throughout the day is going to be more beneficial than just about anything else. So sniff walks, his guardians let him sniff on walks. It's great. They're going to throw away or give me that prong collar so I can melt it down. We take away prong collars. The prong is wrong. If your trainer wants you to use a punishment-based device, it's just an indication that they're not good at training their dogs. I don't mean it poorly about the other trainers, but I'm sorry. I've worked with 4,000 dogs. I haven't needed to punish any of them to teach them what I want them to do, but I've taught thousands of dogs by using positive reinforcement, creating scenarios where the dog chooses to do what I want, like we did with the leash, and then it gets rewarded. So the dog's like, I'm going to continue walking next to my human because that gets me a reward. So for that, a little tip for that is when the guardians, she's going to get a harness. Now get a harness that's an X or Y shape here in the front. You don't want one that's across the board that's a T shape. You can get one with a front clip. Some of them will advertise themselves as a no-pull harness. There is no harness that stops dogs from pulling, even a prong collar. All it's going to do is create frustration and some other things. It's teaching the dog. Now, the foundation of loose leash walking, have treats with you that you know he likes, which we found treats that he likes. And then basically, every time that he looks at you on a walk, just say, thanks, and hold the treat out. He's got to come back to you to get that treat. Do this in your house. Put him on a leash and walk around your house. Now, first of all, we're going to make sure he's not overexcited through the exercise we did earlier, off camera. And so once we can leash him up and he's not excited, then walk him around the house and have treats with you. And every time he looks at you, say thanks and hold that treat out, he comes over and gets that treat. Then start walking again, quietly pull out another treat. So every time he looks at us, we say thanks to let him know, yes, we like it when you look at us. And then he gets another treat that we hold out so he's coming back to us. The foundation of loose leash walking is the dog just stays near us without putting tension on the leash. Well, the more that he checks in with us, the more we reward him, the more he's going to check in with us. Then he's not pulling on the leash to get to other things. Once he can do that in the house, then do it in your backyard. He's already sniffed and peed on everything in the backyard. By the time you actually start doing an actual walk, he should already know this skill and be good at it. Then we start making it more and more difficult situations. Boy, are you tired. He's way mouthy. This does not feel good, let me tell you. Okay, so we also went over exercise, which again, he needs more exercise. So I would, sniff walks are great, but also, let me see, we could get him a harness where he can carry bottles of water, and that way he's carrying an extra load that's going to make the walk more efficient. Let me see, we can play tug of war. So get a big rope toy, something's like about 2 feet long, and just tease him with it a little bit. When he grabs it, tug, tug, tug. It's a great way to burn energy. And if he touches you with his teeth, you just drop it and the game is over. So we're teaching him, as soon as you put your teeth on me, it causes me to go away or the game stops. So if he does this, again, negative punishment, where you just get up and immediately walk away. The very instant. I can't do it now. He's been doing this for 10 minutes. It's not going to send a message to him. But the instant he touches me, boom, and I get up and walk away, well, shoot. That's like if I'm on a date with a girl and I say something that she doesn't find appropriate and she leaves, she's telling me, I didn't like what you said, David. And so my job is to moderate what I'm saying. So for him, if he realizes as soon as I put my mouth on people, they leave and I want to be with them, I'm working against what I want. So maybe I should try to do something else. Now again, teaching him to grab things, I call it the snag cue, is really important. I'm not pushing him away, I'm just trying to get him to not bite my hand. So throwing a new toy on the ground, and maybe get a couple toys that go with his sister, who's a white Bouvier, who lives about an hour away, and she watches him. Now this is, again, it gets to be fun for him. And it's kind of funny, but it doesn't feel good when he's doing it. If he does this to the wrong person, that's not going to go over very well. He does this to somebody on the street, they might think he's actually biting them and kick him and start an actual fight. So if you get a toy maybe from that his sister has played with, there we go, and it has her scent, and every time you throw it down, you say snag right before he gets it. Eventually, you want that to be a nice cue, so you can say snag, and he goes and grabs it. Now his mouth is occupied. He can't bite on me because he's occupied with his mouth, and he gets rewarded for doing that. And so it's just a nice replacement behavior for him. Now for exercise, tug of war, fetch, he, I think, might learn to fetch, but if you're going to teach him to fetch, do it in like the corner of your living room. Don't do it outside. And remember, you say fetch as you throw it. When he picks it up, don't say anything. Quietly pull out a treat when he comes over to you, hold the treat up, chops the item, say your marker word, thanks, put the treat in his mouth. Then pick it up and then throw it again. He doesn't have to learn to fetch, so there's other things that you can do to burn energy. Let me see. And that's physical exercise, and sniff walks is a great way to do that as well. Yes, here he comes. But there's also mental stimulation. We went over Cookie in the Corner, which he did okay with. But there's also a ton of scent games. Scent games is using the nose to find treats or people or things along those lines. And so that's a great way for him to burn some excess energy is by using his nose. A dog's nose controls about 60% of their brain. And so if he's using his nose, then he can't be, it's going to be harder. It's going to drain a lot of energy. It makes him feel confident and comfortable and boost his self-esteem and all that fun stuff. Yes. And I think his guardians have snatched him. So you see how quick he is. And he's a big boy, but he's very light on his feet. And so the more that we can get him to use something that's intrinsic for him, his nose, the better at it he's going to get. And then we can drain his energy in proper situations. Now, I'm a guest. I'm not really a guest. I came over to help. But if you're going to have guests over, exercise him first. Have a new toy. Have a bully stick. Have the lick mat ready to go with cream cheese or peanut butter. So you have multiple things that you could do. What we want him to do is block him for doing this behavior that he's been doing and grabbing me. And, it doesn't feel good. And for him, he's not doing it to be a jerk. He's just doing it because it gets him attention. So you saw I wasn't really reacting with him until he really got boisterous about it. But the better thing, as soon as he does that, get up and leave. But if you're with a guest and you feel weirded out about it, so when he does it with you guys are the ones to start off with. All right, so again, you can also get him a snuffle mat, Omega Paw Tricky Trainer Treat Ball. They have a flying saucer, different puzzles. I don't like the puzzles that are static, but I like the puzzles that are balls or things that move around. So then he's got to figure out how to use them. He's got to hunt. It drains energy for him. There's also canine enrichment. You can do things like taking a tube for paper towels, taking a big piece of some paper towels and putting some treats in it, or a kibble, and then twisting it up and crumpling up into a ball and stuffing them into this in little sheets of paper. So now he's got to figure out how to pull that sheet of paper out, and then there's 2 or 3 pieces of kibble in it. Then I try to get the next one out. You're giving him a puzzle, something to do, something to drain that energy and keep him occupied. He's a herding breed. He needs tasks. He needs jobs. Otherwise, he's going to get in trouble. And I think in this case, he really doesn't have any jobs. So that's why the celebrating comes in. What's my job? My job is to sit and lay down and give eye contact and whatever it is. Now, also, again, training is a great way to burn energy. So if you want some videos on teaching him leave it or drop it or some loose leash walking or whatever, let me know. I'm happy to share some videos with you. You can practice that, or we can set up another session, work on loose leash walking or whatever. But if he is getting boisterous like this, ask yourself, how long has it been since he's had exercise? If it's been longer than an hour, take him out for a 10-minute walk. There's 4 people basically in the house. I would recommend that each one is responsible for 1 10-minute walk a day. And so when he gets like this, it's just like, who's up next? Okay, put the leash on, take him out, and just let him sniff for 10 minutes. Bring him back inside. He's going to plop down and be pooped. And so you're taking care of his needs without giving the attention for the unwanted behaviors. Let me see. What else do we go over? I'd like the guardians to incorporate some rules. So if you do have the doors closed outside, he's outside in the backyard and you have the doors closed because it's a little bit cool, open the door a crack and tell him to sit 1 time. He has 2 seconds to sit. If he sits, as soon as he sits, say thanks and open the door and let him in. If he doesn't sit within 2 seconds, I'm only asking 1 time. I'm going to close the door. I would sit down somewhere where he can see maybe in your steps right there and act like you're having a good old time. Pull out your phone, laugh at some videos or whatever it is, and then wait 1 minute. And if he's boisterous, wait for him to stop and then wait 1 minute. Go to the door, tell him to sit again. He has 2 seconds to sit. He doesn't sit. This time I walk away and sit down for 2 minutes. Next time I walk away and sit down for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. I keep doubling the length of time. And as soon as he does what I want, he gets what he wants. But if he doesn't do it, it's okay. I don't care. I'm on to my own thing. So by giving him an I don't care nonchalant, I think it's going to cause him to come around. I think the guardians have been kind of chasing him where we'd like to have it the other way around. And I think now the guardians have really seen the power of that, especially when we went through the leashing exercise, and how much the dynamic changed just by kind of creating a situation where he was motivated to come to them versus the other way around. So remember, if you have to put him on the leash, if you got to bring him in from outside or do anything, and you got to do it in half an hour, start doing it way in advance so you can disengage and show him, I don't care. You might only have 10 minutes, but he doesn't know. You disengage and sit down for 3 minutes. He's like, oh man, they don't care. And he runs back up to you. If I go to you, you have the power. If you come to me, I have the power. So I think the guardians, by going to him, have given him the power. So by being passive and practicing at times they don't need to, and having time or practicing things when they don't need to, they take away that urgency that was, I think, working against them. All right, the video outside on the recall, I have a video on recall that I'm happy to share with you guys. Remember to do that seating exercise. So come and touch his nose with a treat, come and step away, and then when he arrives, thanks and give him a treat, and practice that all over your house. And make sure you celebrate every time he comes to you, thanks and pet him. So that way that when you do practice the exercise I showed you after the video, you guys, it makes it a little bit easier. When you're doing that, make sure you're holding your hand out flat with a treat in it before you call him. When you call his name and he looks at you, then lower your hand, or say come and lower your hand. Now after a while, it shouldn't take longer than a couple days of this where you don't have to say his name anymore. You just say come, snaps his head around, looks, and comes darting over to you, and you don't even have to lower your hand anymore. But gradually move further and further away, eventually out of sight in different levels of the house, and practice calling him. So just make it a fun game. So again, we could talk about leashing him up. That maybe each person in the house practice that 1 minute a day. That's 4 minutes of practice. We all practice do the recall 1 minute a day. So that's another 4 minutes of practice that he gets. But if everybody in the house is doing it in these short little 1 minute practice sessions, for dad, it's like I do 4 1 minute practice sessions. I'm not even 5 minutes a day. But there's 4 of us or 4 people in the house. Well, now that starts to become more powerful. Dog training, just like us, is a numbers game. The more that they do it successfully, the more they're likely to do it. Now, a little tip for training, keep the training sessions very short, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops, and always end on a successful one. The last repetition is what they're going to remember the most, so you want to end on a success. I'm trying to think. If there's anything else that I'm missing, please feel free to message me. I'm happy to help you guys. And it was a lot of fun working with you guys. You see, is he still here?
Yes.
Hey, Bruno! Bruno! We got to wrap up the video. We got to have you here, buddy. Bruno! Come here. Go get that. Come here. See, this is, again, he's used to being called a whole bunch of times. So he's like, no, by not coming, I got to retain David's attention. So I made a treat available. I offered him once or twice, and then I stopped talking to him. I went back to the camera. Guess who did what I wanted him to do? Bruno! Bruno! Come here, buddy. It's like you just said not to cater to me. Well, this is my buddy Bruno's butt. There we go. There's Bruno. And this is Bruno. And this is Bruno's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it. It's a very good sit, buddy.